lovely detritus impoundment dispensator. It's all go yet again. I keep running out of stuff, which is very exciting. I thought last time I built the motorised gauges I would make 6 of them ready assembled because they seem to be popular, but obviously now I've built 6 they're not popular, and the pile of the kit version sitting here has diminished to none. I've also nearly run out of PLA fibre. It's so difficult to keep on top of everything. You can see I've decided to risk it and try and print another one of these enclosures. Beep, 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 beep. And I'm hoping I'm going to have enough fibre, because the problem is it doesn't know, this one doesn't know when the fibre runs out, so it'll keep drawing it in through the pinch wheels, and then there's no fibre and it will just keep going, printing nothing into mid-air. So what I'm going to have to do, here's some leftover bits, only a couple of metres on each one. I'm going to have to watch this like a hawk. A hawk, I say. And the minute this starts running out, I'm going to have to feed in a new bit. I'm just fingers crossed, because otherwise the whole thing's wasted. Once it's lost a layer, you can't go back. And here, very excited to say, I'm going to make 20 of the chronograph kits, because I made 7 originally, having only got 7 of the pendulum movements here, and I thought, well, you never know. I mean, it could be absolutely rubbish and no one wants them, and I've found a non-existent market. But I found a very existent market, and they sold out really quickly, which is great, because now, as you can see, this is number 45. As I was saying before, each one individually numbered. Let's prove it to you. Pick a card, any card sort of, number 37. So I've got 20 of them cut out, and 20 times 8, whatever that is, 8 twos, 160 or something, side pieces, lots and lots of the wooden washers. So this is going to come on really nicely. I'm very excited about making 20 of these kits. The other nice thing about having them as kits is if I get an order for a ready-made one, I can ready make it. And the lovely laser cutter has just finished cutting out 6 of the 2mm sets of parts for the chronograph, so that's great. Very proud to say my studies into entropy are going very well, making great steps forward. But I can still get to the laser cutter. I've just found this beautiful thing. I can't remember where I got it. It's gorgeous. When you move this, that opens. Look at that. Let me put something underneath so you can see it more clearly. Isn't that beautiful? It goes right down to a small point and opens up and practically disappears. It's an iris from a follow spot. Beautifully made. And reminded me of this because yesterday I was watching Alien and Aliens with my son, who's a great science fiction fan, I'm pleased to say. I have to say, Alien is such an incredible film, made in 1979. You can watch it today, and unlike so many other science fiction films, it doesn't look dated. It's incredible. And one of these appears in Aliens, 1986. Can you guess where? And, very, very sad, but there's another film, a horror film, House on Haunted Hill, that has one of these in it, although it's not used. It's on the huge zoetrope. I think I need to get out more. Funnily enough, when I first started thinking about storing plastic bags, I was thinking, well, this part, which now opens and closes like that, which is far simpler, could be made with an iris. Well, I didn't want to get rid of this one because it's like the brother I never had, and I looked up the cost of getting another one, and it was prohibitively expensive. I think sort of 60, 70, 80 pounds, British pounds, whatever the equivalent in the US dollars it is. Very expensive, and I'm not surprised when you consider the engineering, all these separate slats. Oh, stop it, get on with it. Now this is just downright weird. Only a moment ago I was talking about this lovely aperture, And then I check my emails on the computer and find that I've been sent on Facebook an advert for some kickstarting project for one of these irises that you can use to draw circles. That is so bizarre. I haven't seen or heard sight nor sound of any other mention of one of these irises ever, actually, since I last mentioned them. That is really odd. I haven't mentioned it anywhere. The only thing I've mentioned it to, my dear camera. What are you doing, camera? Are you passing information to third parties that are unknown? It doesn't stop. I've got to keep thinking out what I'm going to need to build these 20 kits. And I realised I've only got 15 of the 35mm by M3 male-female spacers, brass spacers left. So I've had to order some more of them. And most importantly, the stainless steel M4 by 25mm rivets. I get through so many of these because they are used in the mechanical gauges and in the chronograph kits. In the past, dear friends, I've got them from a variety of different suppliers, sort of 100 at a time or whatever, and I've realised every time I run out I then spend ages, hours hunched over a hot computer searching the web for a possibly better deal. But I have to say, no affiliation as ever, that Fabry in the UK, they're the cheapest. I've just ordered 800 because I get fed up with running out and thinking I'm never going to need another 100 and then needing another 100. So 800 this time. 72 of your very best British pains, I say. 9p each I think it works out as, but it's just one of those things. Originally I thought, oh, I can print the whole thing on the 3D printer. Axles, clipping, gears and all the rest of it. After a little bit of experimentation I realised that that really wasn't going to be possible because the tolerances just aren't that good. There's a 4. Beep, 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 beep. 4 of these rivets because I realised they make perfect axles or shafts or whatever, because they've got the front and the top bit, the mushroom shaped bit, stainless steel, so very smooth and polished, and they just glue in, well, on this particular version they stick out the back and are held in place with some super glue. They work really, really well and they look very nice too. Engraving pretend ball bearings, which actually do look amazingly realistic when they're sprayed up. Lots of engravings. Oops. And finally onto the cutting. So this is the 3rd sheet, 6 on each sheet. So I'm slowly well, I'm not, the laser cutter's slowly getting through them. Oh, enjoyable, amazing. It's making me nerves bad. It's down to that much. I need to take the dog out for a walk. So what I think I'll do is to change that. I just don't want to risk it because look at the display. That's 3 hours and 13 to get 56% done. Now obviously it's not going to use as much plastic because it's going around the edges. But I'm not going to risk it. Time for a change. I dread this, I do hesitate because on occasion when I've paused it, all sits perfectly still and then suddenly this moves a little bit by about a millimetre, not that much but enough to then ruin the rest of it. But I mean there's no way around it. I don't think there's enough plastic left on the top. That is just not going to be enough. So by Jove, I think we're in luck. You can see the bit at the top, the last few layers are warm white and the ones below that are cool white. Brilliant, and they're all lining up. Oh, that's good. Whilst I'm still waiting for this to print, it's now 5 hours 14 minutes and 98%. What I thought I'd do is to make 20 of these. A nice springy part of the chronograph. I've got the annealed copper wire here, 3.3mm I think it is, and if you've watched previous videos you'll know that I made this jig awful bit of engineering, but never mind. When you've got limited space, it's so frustrating not to be able to get more tools. Anyway, mustn't grumble. But the problem with this is once you've wrapped it round into these grooves that I filed lovingly, you can't get it out, so you have to unbend it and all the rest of it's a pain. So then the last time, for the last 7, I made a new one. So you put the end in here, you put it on the lathe and you wrap it round, and there's no slots for it to grip on. So I'm going to make 20 of them now. I've just noticed poor Florence's sister sitting up there, neglected. Aww, shame. I'm so proud. My first multicoloured 3D print. Amazing. Oh, that's 2. Now I'll just have to wait for the PLA fibre to arrive. At least I can make 2 new kits. And today's film is The Perfect Host, starring David Hyde Pierce, who played Niles in Frasier, who's brilliant. Very quirky film about a burglar who goes into trying to trick his way into someone's house, but basically meets his match. Very good. Look at that, 20 beautiful springs made up. Excellent, and I've sanded the end of each one so there's no sharp edges. Lovely. And now, with the remains of the warm white PLA, I'm printing a load of the caps that go on the end of the nitrous oxide pressure cylinder bottles. This really is a mammoth task. Not an unenjoyable one, but a mammoth task. 20 of everything. Just, you know, the hour display dial, it just takes so long. Mind you, I do love this, as I've said numerous times, because the engraved numbers glue in really nicely. It's such an enjoyable experience to glue them all in, because you just line them up. They're teardrop shaped, so they have to go in one way. And then just drip a couple of drops of super glue into the back and it seals them in, and it looks lovely. There's the nitrous oxide bottles that I collected from outside my house a few months ago. Knew they'd come in handy at some point. So that's it, and I'm very pleased that I've did all these copious notes last time, so I know exactly what I'm doing, sort of. And there are the other bits. Lots and lots of 3mm plastic and 2mm plastic, and lots of these. And I've even managed to print all the new pressure cylinder tops, so that's good. And I managed to make 3 more of the gauge kits, motorised gauge kits. That's fantastic. I've already sold one of them, so I'm very pleased I got that done. Now I'm just waiting for some more fibre to arrive, as I really did use it all up. This is what was left after it finished printing the last of the kits. Really lucky. And look alongside the lovely plastic bag storage device, there are copper coils and copper rods, all packed, 20 of them, into little bubble wrap things. Ooh, there's 20 of the acrylic rods and tubes to make the mercury effect from. Look at that, 20 of the wooden part kits, all done together. So we're getting there. Oh, I've given the laser cutter a mammoth task. There's 20 of all the 10mm thick parts, and as you can see there are a whole range of different colours. That mean bits are engraved and bits are cut and bits are sort of hollowed out, all sorts of stuff. If I click on this, it will tell me how long roughly this is going to take. What's that say? I'm trying to look through the viewfinder. 4 hours 12 minutes. It usually underestimates it, so heaven only knows. 34 minutes so far, and where have we got to? Well, nearly got 10 of the engraved bits. These bits, you can see it is pretty amazing, because with some experimentation I worked out what power to get it to actually engrave about halfway through 10mm acrylic. So that's what it's doing, with lines 0.15mm apart. So it's going to do all them first, and then it will start cutting other bits and doing all sorts of stuff. It's going to take a long time. Making 20, I'm coming up with lots and lots of improved ways of assembling things. In the past, to drill out the tops of these cylinders, I would put each one on the lathe and drill it out, which took ages putting them in and out of the chuck. So this time I suddenly thought, another use for a wonderful V-block. 1,000 uses around the home and garden. So I just hold it in there. It's a small drill bit, so and just do that. It's so quick. Mind you, even if it was a large drill, but I probably wouldn't try and clamp it in. Last night I was thinking about making some sort of wooden jig that would grip these, but I mean, hey, so that doesn't happen. It's funny because there's lots of different types of design, and then I'm just deburring the top if there is any burring with a countersink. Great stuff. Things have started arriving in the post, and I have to say, no affiliation, but it's always nice to pass on good shops or whatever. This is Wiggly. Is it Wiggly DIY? Get it online. Brilliant service. I've just ordered 7 more of these cans to get through it really quickly. The metallic brass spray paint, and it 2 days and they're here, and very reasonably priced. In fact, very reasonably priced. Also, especially with this beeswax, I was looking this up, the polish that comes with the kits, and on eBay and Amazon and all that, it was something like £27 up to about £35 for this. And in the end, again, I found Wiggly's on Wiggly, and I think it's £12, which is far more like the original thing, and they've always had it in stock. It's fantastic. And then also Hobart's, and where I get this laser ply from. This is basically also in the UK, obviously, but this sheets of laser ply, 600 by 300, which they cut to size, 3mm thick. I ordered this on Sunday, well, not this particular bit, but I ordered another 25 sheets on Sunday, and it is now Tuesday lunchtime, and they've all arrived, and they're really reasonably priced. It's nice to share really efficient, well-priced suppliers. So there you go, Hobart's for laser ply and other laser cutting sheet materials, and Wiggly for all your DIY needs, sort of, almost. Fabulous. This is so annoying, ridiculous. What it's meant to have done is to cut out the circle a little bit and then cut out the rest of it, but it's done it the other way around, so the whole thing then drops down, because I've got this sitting on blocks, simply because with the power of the laser, when it's sufficient to get through the 10mm acrylic, it then tries to set fire to the laser cutter underneath, which is a little bit distressing. So sat it on wood, found out, like I say, that it cuts the outside out, it then drops down, then it cuts this bit, the circle, and as you can see, it doesn't line up. So I've just spent about an hour, luckily I paused it, and then spent ages on this crappy bit of software that came with the laser cutter. Well, it's not crappy, but it's just not very good. It's like a college project that someone's got half finished and then run out of time. But what I've done is now to break this into separate bits and colour each of these purple, and then make sure on a list of cuttings the purple comes first, and then it'll cut the black, and then it'll drop down, and it really doesn't matter, I don't think. Not sure, let's wait and see. What a pain. I didn't film it because I thought I'd better put the fire out, but as you can see, the flames were licking around underneath. That is such a pain, because I've now got to do all of this again, because there's no way I'm going to be able to line that up. Yeah, it was happily on fire under here. I've sawn the end off the 10mm acrylic to keep the good bit, and I've amended the design, if you will. Rather than trying to do the whole lot at once, which means that if something goes wrong, I've wasted most of a £25 worth of 10mm sheet. I have just arranged 6, and also this time, because as you know if you've watched previous videos on making these, the pendulum especially, that I was engraving. Originally I thought, well, you know, engrave all these holes for the copper rods and this, that and the other, but actually I have to re-drill them all out again anyway using that jig that I made. So this time I'm just going to create pilot holes with the engraved bit and then drill them out with the jig as I was doing anyway, so that should save a lot of time. Also this time I'm going back to the instructions I wrote myself, for myself, which is to rest it on a piece of white card. As I found, and I've mentioned in the past, that the laser bounces off the card and you get a really nice radiused bottom, and you can't beat the radiused bottom. And you don't set fire to the plastic, and hopefully there isn't a cataclysm of fire and doom at the end of it. Just give that a go. It also takes so much less time to compile, write the G code and then download it. It really does, with less of the engraving, all the hundreds or thousands of green lines that are 0.15mm apart, so that's good as well. I don't have to stand around waiting for stuff. Right, first of all let's just test and see whether we've got enough plastic. Yep. Moment of truth, start. So now it's only going to have to engrave or cut halfway through each of the holes that I'm then going to drill out, so it should be a lot quicker as well. Be interesting to see how long this takes. Actually, let's have a look and see what it says. Well, it says 1 hour 5 minutes, which is a lot better than whatever it was before, 4.5 hours. So let's give that a go and see how we get on. It's engraved all the L's after 5 minutes, and now it's doing the decorative engraving, which is just about 0.5 millimetre deep, so it shows up once components are painted. Ooh, now don't look into the light. It's going to start cutting them out now. The first colour it's going to cut out is black, which is going to be the well, you can see these bits from an original cutout. We'll see how it goes. I assume, hopefully, there's less chance of it bursting into flames because there's no oxygen underneath. There's no gap. So, well, we'll see how it goes anyway. And I also found, interestingly, when I tried it last time, that I thought, well, to cut down distortion, why not make it 2 or even 3 cuts at lower power? Then it's got a chance to cool each time, but the results were absolutely dreadful. It's far, far better to do 1 cut at a higher power than several at a lower power. I don't quite understand it, but yeah, fabulous. The whole lot's got out in 1 hour and 7 minutes. And it's worked perfectly, and I haven't set fire to the laser cutter. What's not to like? Right, so this is 620 divided by 6 is something or other. I'll get on with it. And I keep forgetting to mention the reciprocating chronometer is working really well. If you've watched previous videos, you'll know that I had a constant problem with randomness of the AM/PM indicator. Having placed a little metallic card spring pusher against the cam that controls the AM/PM thing, it's worked flawlessly. I can't tell you how happy that makes me, because I have spent, I think I spent 3 years in development. Still hasn't worked, and it is finally working. That's so exciting. I think what I'm going to do next is to make the indentations on the rising part of each cam, cusp, isn't that the right word? A little bit deeper, because it might be, if they're a little bit deeper, it wouldn't be flicked round. That's obviously the problem. Then I wouldn't need the spring. I will investigate further. I must stop this video now, because I could go on for hours. Thanks very much for watching. Hope to see you next time when there'll be sorts of more exciting developments.